Ubisoft just announced something for The Division that I think they will do for future games as well. As you might know, I've been covering these Ubisoft games for almost 10 years, so full time now. Whether you like them or not, that's not really important for this video. I think it's also a very fascinating company to study and cover here on these various channels I have. And that is mostly because when they do something, when they have a new trend, they apply it to every game, even though it doesn't really make sense for many of the titles. So what I'm talking about here is this. This was Far Cry New Dawn 2019. And yeah, you see it already. In a Far Cry game, they added the damage numbers. Because at one point, Ubisoft was obsessed with making every game an RPG. And in the case of Far Cry New Dawn, this also meant there were like rank 4 soldiers using a rank 1 gun. Well, that's not really good. Like, it will take a long time before you can kill the enemy. But that was far from the only thing. So, when they announced Ghost Recon Breakpoint, I still think this is a very fascinating live stream they did. So, of course, we all know how Ghost Recon Breakpoint turned out. But when they revealed it, they were focused on realism. Oh, look, you can all hide in the mud and etc, etc. And again, people were hyped. 7.1k likes, 290,000 views. Pretty good for Ghost Recon Breakpoint. So they also showed like this gameplay, no HUD, and very, very stealth focused. But then, of course, when we saw the game, this is what it was. It had legendary weapons, epic weapons, mobility, the perks, and the gear score. And again, every game was turning into an RPG. They even had a raid, because they were like, yeah, the Division has raids. Ghost Recon is now Destiny 2, so let's have a freaking drone. That was one of the reasons they added drones to the game, because then they could also add enemies, basically bullet sponges, to the game without it being weird. And if you, like me, been following Ubisoft for a while, then you know that this is what Watch Dogs Legion looked like at first. So the characters had levels, and when you would level them up, you would unlock new perks. And they also had like extra stats and all that sort of stuff. It was kind of weird. Explosion damage, explosion range. Like, and then of course when they later changed the game and they did not have any of these levels, like there were in London zones, and it was like, this is a level 10 zone. So if you would go there with a level 1 character, good luck. Obviously, in the game that we have now, they completely removed that, made more interesting perks for the characters, not the 10% increases. And of course, because they were already working on this as an RPG, they also made a raid where, yes, we were also shooting drones and bullets. Like, what the heck are we? This is a Watch Dogs game. What are we doing? I, by the way, played this. It was surprisingly fun. Believe it or not. But this had like a damage phase. And if you did not do enough damage, yeah, then you would all die. You would wipe out. Again, this was like a Destiny raid in Watch Dogs. But then Ubisoft clearly saw, okay, this is not working. We have to backpedal. So one of the things we saw is the immersive mode for Ghost Recon Breakpoint. No gear level. And they are basically saying, yo, realistic loot. No more rarities and stuff. Basically, yo, remember how Ghost Recon was? Well, that's now a feature. We're now adding that back. Stamina level. Like, again, they were basically making a mode that everyone wanted. But that should have been in the game at launch. They should have never gone the RPG route, obviously. And they later saw that. Now we get to The Division. And they only post this video because there's like a Japanese event or something. They only post this video with these enormous subtitles. But let's hear what they have to say, because they just announced a brand new mode.
Realism mode is bringing a fresh experience with new challenges. Expect action-focused combat with reduced time to kill and realistic weapon damage based on bullet caliber. Realism mode allows you to progress through the Warlords of New York campaign, featuring a new twist focused on immersive gameplay. The mode offers classic realism elements like reduced UI, limited HUD, no health regeneration, scarce ammo, and longer skill cooldowns. Realism mode is your chance to experience The Division 2 like never before.
So basically, this is what when we saw The Division for the first time, they of course had the very cool trailer and it was like, okay, awesome. And then, yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense that The Division is an RPG like this. I mean, that is what this game clearly is. But if you looked at it, did not see a HUD, and saw trailers, you were like, okay, it's gonna be a regular third-person shooter. But then this could be an experience. The enemies would just not die if you did not have the right equipment or loadout. The bullet spongy enemies was one of the biggest things that people did not like about the game. So they're now basically saying, yo, for a limited time, so only in March during the anniversary, they're going to add this separate realism mode. You create a separate character only for this realism mode. You can play through the Warlords of New York DLC they added to the Division 2. And then a headshot is a headshot. So you will not have the bullet spongy enemies again. I think that could be huge. And obviously we know the Division 3 is coming. And I totally think like it's only for a limited time. They're doing it now for the Division 2. I think they're testing the grounds here. Let's see what people think. And then when the Division 3 comes out, they're like, you can play it the RPG way, go crazy, grind out, do level up. Or you can play the realism mode for if you just want a traditional third-person shooter. No levels, no rarity loot. A headshot is a headshot. Ammo is more scarce. I think that's actually pretty interesting that they're looking at their portfolio and being like, let's give people multiple options to play our games. And the interesting thing, like why I think this realism mode and the timing is interesting, is because they've been doing this for other games as well recently. Avatar, one of my biggest gripes, and I think if I like go back here during the so of course Avatar was another one of those games where you saw it, you were like, okay, it's gonna be a first-person shooter. Now of course they finally have the third-person mode, but they also had a gear score and weapons with upgrades. And so if you had an assault rifle, and this was a regular soldier, right? Look at how, like, I'm dying really fast. I'm shooting with the shot. Nothing is happening. It was really hard. Like, I've always thought, okay, if you play an Avatar game, maybe just like with Hogwarts Legacy, you're someone coming into gaming for the first time. You're not used to all these levels and all these crap that it doesn't matter. It should not matter. And so this is like the average, like the regular Avatar experience. But now, if you play the new DLC, you know, they basically let you play a different character, but the time to kill is completely different. So this is like a helicopter. You kill it super fast. Like in a regular game, that would not be possible. And they also added something like warrior senses. So then you're basically going overdrive, and look at the time to kill. It's like, this is what I wanted from the original game. This is what I expected from the original game. Yet, they still added it later on now with the DLC. So, also for Avatar, they are making the time to kill shorter. They're basically adding a realism mode without calling it a realism mode. There are no gear levels and upgrades and RPG elements in this DLC. It's just an action-adventure type game. So like I said at the beginning, and like I was showing, we had the Far Cry, New Dawn situation, we had Ghost Recon Breakpoint, we had Watch Dogs Legion. When Ubisoft has a new trend, the trend was, hey, when we add RPG elements to the game, there is, like, people can spend their time longer in our game if they spend more time in the game. What they saw also with Origins, of course, which was like their first action-adventure turned into RPG. I do think for Assassin's Creed it works a bit better, but that's not really the point. Basically, when they have a new trend, okay, let's put RPG elements because that will extend the playtime. Let's do it across our portfolio. Obviously, that doesn't work, but with them now doing the realism mode, with them doing it in Avatar, I would not be surprised if future Assassin's Creed games will also have this. Because I know there are also people that like the RPG Assassin's Creeds, but don't like, especially Odyssey had this, if you want to, like, do damage, there's like a guy who has like I'm not sure what he's doing, but basically, he clearly did not upgrade his gear, and he's like fighting this level 27 enemy, he's like level 28, it takes way too long for him. Like, he's like, what the heck, I'm slashing this guy, he should be dead by now, but no. He just keeps going. While, of course, the older Assassin's Creed games, the time to kill is way, way shorter. So, I would not be surprised if we get to a spot, and I would not be surprised if Shadows, during the second year, Shadows will be the test bed, just like the Division 2 is for the Division 3. They add a realism mode. They have been talking about a lethal type mode for Shadows even before launch. So, basically, in Ghost of Tsushima and Yote, Yote, it works completely different. So let's focus on Tsushima. You have a lethal option. Enemies die 1-2 slashes. You die very quickly too. It's a realism mode basically. And I would not be surprised with them even putting it in the freaking Division that they might do it for Shadows as well. 2 hits, a headshot is a headshot. 2 hits with your weapon, the enemy dies. And then maybe for a future Assassin's Creed RPG, they're also like, yo, what type of player are you? Are you an RPG player? Or are you a realism player like the older games? I think it could be very interesting. And to round it out, this is my interview with Simon, the game director on Assassin's Creed Shadows, talking about year 2 for the game. I want to see damage numbers in Shadows. It's an RPG first and foremost. They don't want to do it. And I would not be surprised if the reason why they don't want to do it is because they suddenly made the 180 turn and they're like, no, we don't want to be an RPG for all our games anymore. It's now realism mode, baby. So they just are not allowed to add the damage numbers because everything has to be realism mode now. Maybe a bit crazy. I'm curious. I'm really curious. Let me know what you think. I thought this was like an interesting observation, at least. And yeah, do you prefer the realism approach or the RPG approach? I'm always for more options, but then if they do a realism mode, let us have the damage numbers in Assassin's Creed Shadows as well. Come on. I digress. Of course, subscribe for more React channel videos like this. I will speak to you soon. Goodbye.